Hello, we're live. And it's been a while. We were actually supposed to be live last week. And then I died. Fortunately, I got better. But I set an alarm, and I guess I just did not hear it. And I woke up, I don't know, like 50 minutes late or something. I saw Alex be like, "We've been doing this? Now you sleeping? Okay, cool." And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to bed. I'm just going to stay in bed then.
I waited in the call for like 15 minutes or something. I was like, I guess no table talk. All right, get some sleep. And then I just like turned on Dying Light or something.
Speaking of Dying Light, whoa, that was really loud. Actually, you're going to talk about that a little bit today, because today we're talking about other games other than Pathfinder and D&D, which are kind of the genre that I think we focus a lot on. But I also want to say that that's not overly intentional.
I mean, we just like those games.
Like, I started the whole channel because I find Pathfinder 2E to be a incredibly fun game. Though if everything was the same except for the genre of it, I would probably still really like Pathfinder. I don't think I'm beholden by Pathfinder's like high fantasy medieval setting per se. And I think that's kind of a big thing to talk about as well, is this channel, I've been doing a lot of like researching, and I guess you could call it some soul searching, like in the midst of that as well. And one of the things that I kind of came across was, no matter how much I like Pathfinder, and no matter how much I like push Pathfinder, it's not going to make my channel overly successful. Like, the channel will always be very small time, because the biggest Pathfinder 2E, and granted, it's growing because the game is getting, older and older, and over time more people play the game. But I don't foresee like even reaching over 100,000 subscribers on Pathfinder, for instance. And 100,000 is kind of like baseline career YouTube. Like, 100,000 is something that you can kind of get started on, but it's not like enough to get comfy. Anything less than 100,000, and it's like a part-time job in a sense, or like not a full job. Now, there's people who do manage to get like a Patreon or something, and or they get other methods of getting paid for their work, and I think that works for some people. But unless I'm personally pumping out content like that, I would find that to be hard. Not that it's impossible. And probably the biggest Pathfinder 2E channel right now, only Pathfinder 2E, or at least mostly Pathfinder 2E channel, I think does something like that. But he's not like living comfy. He hasn't bought a house or anything like that. So
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking a lot about like what I want to do and how do I want to move forward with everything. And I really think it just comes to the idea of pushing tabletop more as like a full genre in itself, but not variety, if that makes sense. And that's going to take a lot of finessing around and a lot of stuff to do. And I'm actually in the process of designing a game currently that so far has turned out good. I've gotten some good response from it so far. And we'll hopefully be doing another live play test soon. That is my earnest desire.
I mean, hopefully, if you do one, next time you do one, I can actually join. So
that'd be cool. Yeah, I definitely. It's just a lot of it is right now getting the guns down.
Which guns I will help.
Yeah. guns and general combat. And then once I do that, then it just becomes manipulating the system, you know. It's like building a computer. You first have to make something that can accept code before you start coding it. So that's just a rough framework we're working on right now. But talking about gaming in general, there's a lot of games coming out like right now. February and March are actually really big for games in general right now, especially if you're in, well, actually just a lot. They just had the Nintendo, I forget what it was called. Nintendo did
Direct.
Was it Nintendo Direct? That sounds right. Yeah,
that's usually what it is. Yeah, I mean, some cool stuff dropped on it. I saw the highlights.
Yeah, I'm not a super big Nintendo person myself, but it's exciting for those people. And
I own a Switch. That is the level of my engagement with Nintendo.
Fair. I actually played the new Pokemon game.
I heard it's fun.
It's good. I would say it's a chill Pokemon game that's taking a big step in the right direction. And I think if they double down on it and they really invest in it, it is the future of Pokemon.
Also, I'm a sucker because it takes place in Sinnoh, which is like my favorite region and my favorite game.
Same. It's my favorite one as well.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the big area one of the biggest reasons why I got it. Because if it was like in the black and white region, Zenova, I think is what it's called.
Something like that.
I probably wouldn't have gotten the game. Honestly.
I wouldn't have considered it. I just don't like the black and white Pokemon, to be honest. I just don't like their designs. And
if it was in Kanto, I probably wouldn't have gotten it either. I love the first 150, but they're very basic, because that was their, their first run.
Yeah, as it would be.
I think, the Diamond and Pearl era was probably one of the best for overall Pokemon design that they had.
Yeah, Gen 4 had a lot of just absolute bangers, which, honestly, I would say the proof of that is how many fucking spin-offs take place in Sinnoh.
Yeah.
Pokemon Rangers, holy shit.
Well, and one of the most recognizable Pokemon also came from that region, which is Lucario.
That's true. For the wrong reasons.
Well, kinda.
It is. There are an absurd amount of people that just want to fuck Lucario.
I would argue Gardevoir is 100 times worse, and Gardevoir is not as officially represented.
I would argue Lucario still.
There's no good way to solve this conundrum without researching.
There's no winning. I don't want to research it either. But
No,
I would say that more people want to fuck the furry than just a weird human-looking person.
I'm going to disagree, but we're going to have to agree to disagree. There's no way of proving it. It's just like, you could research it. Nope. It's a draw. It's a draw for lack of evidence either way.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. Actually, it's super funny. Everyone in our house, I made a game just for shits and giggles. We were trying to name any Pokemon and see if any of them had no porn of it out there.
Testing Rule 34, I see.
Rule 34, actually the website Rule 34 is what we used, which I understand for anyone who may watch this in the future. God, hopefully this is not your introduction to everything.
I hope it is.
I understand Rule 34 is not the end or the end all be all of drawn porn. I understand that probably there's just someone out there who just sat down with the whole fucking Pokedex there and just started drawing for 3 years.
Respect that fucking hustle, though.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, we made a game of it. I made some really good guesses. I think the lowest guess I got was 3. Devin ended up winning in the end, finding a Pokemon with a 0.
I'm very curious which one this is.
I don't remember. It's like one of the, oh god, I think it was one of the ones from the black and white era of games,
Oh, that I have no fucking clue which one.
and it was a Pokemon I never heard of before, and I think it was in the class of like post game pseudo legendaries, maybe. I'm not even 100% sure on that. Literally, the whole black and white era of Pokemon, I swear, just avoid time in Pokemon. That, like, everyone knows that happens, but no one remembers anything that happened in those games.
I've heard nothing but good things about Black and White from my friends. I cannot agree, but I don't know. Maybe if I played a fun little version of Pokemon Black and White with all the other Pokemon, I'd give a shit. But I don't like all the new designs, so I've never touched it.
Yeah, and then Devin found another one. I think it was Clawitzer. Had only like one. And it's the Pokemon that has like a water gun in its claw. It looks like a lobster. But yeah, so we found one. We found one. And it was a fun game. It was a legitimately entertaining time. But anyway, that was a huge sidetrack. Yeah, I played the new Pokemon game. I had a lot of fun with it. I would say it's worth your time. The problem I find with it is they neutered the combat system like a lot, which I don't even understand why they did so, really. There was no need to. There's also not online battling, which I find is strange.
That is weird.
Who knows what future DLC may hold. But it's a super non-competitive version of Pokemon, but you can go and walk around and you can see the Pokemon. Shiny hunting has I think the rates are still the same, but shiny hunting has become super easy because you can run through a field and you can see, like 7 Pokemon every few seconds.
I think I read that the rates might have changed. Like, for every Pokemon you see that is not shiny, the rate increases like slightly. I think I read that somewhere. I could be wrong.
I don't know about that. I do know if you perfect their Pokedex, which has a research system where you have to watch it get beaten by like certain elements so many times, or you have to catch them without being seen so many times. If you perfect their Pokedex, it reduces the probability by like 20% or something like that.
That might have been what I read, so I could have been wrong.
Yeah, which I find is interesting, and I find is a good like reward for people, because some of those lists, it's like, watch this Pokemon use this move 20 times, and it's like, oh god, my Pokemon are too strong and I just one-shot everything, so you're telling me I have to go run and find 20 Pokemon to do this one entry. Okay, fine, whatever.
I mean, I'd do that for Ampharos if Ampharos was in the game.
Ampharos is not in the game, sadly.
Cringe. Is Klefki in the game?
No Klefki.
Double cringe. I don't want it.
Yeah. I got super lucky. I found in the wild Zora shiny, which is the pre-evolution of Zoroark. So that was a pretty good one, and it's the Hisuian version, which is they're a pretty cool one, I would say. So that was my best shiny so far.
Nice.
And that was a really good one. I got super lucky. It was like the 4th one I ever saw either. So I also got a gold Magikarp just randomly in the field.
That's
so
fun.
Yeah.
You'll get the one shiny Pokemon that everyone has gotten.
Yep.
The Red Gyarados.
Red Gyarados. It's a good one. It's, actually, another another tangent here. What the fuck is up with Pokemon having shit tier shiny Pokemon? They know people want shiny Pokemon. They know it's a desire. And yet, they insist on making as many Pokemon as possible Baby Puke green or yellow.
Yeah, it's really sad. I know. I like the shiny Ampharos ironically, because I think the bright pink is weird. Uh, and though like there's a few like really solid shiny colors, but like not many. I know
Yeah,
the
it's
starter
not a
ones are
lot.
usually consistently good.
Lucario makes me sad because Lucario's is their blue fur turns yellow, and
Ew,
then their
what the
white
fuck?
spots or black spots turn green.
It's fucking disgusting.
It's terrible.
Holy shit.
It's really bad.
Literally, I found one where someone redesigns it to make it look way better, where it's like a frosty, like white, like an Arctic,
Yeah.
like Lucario look.
Like, all
Way
you
cooler.
have to do, even if you just want to make it something that's more just like a slight tonal shift, right? You can just make Pokemon that look like they belong in different regions or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
not hard. They're just color swapping. They're just color swapping. They don't need to be suck ass. And it takes no resources to make them that way.
I mean, I remember I just googled for some like shiny Ponyta. I remember is really good because it just turns the fucking the fire blue.
Yep. And then
Looks cool.
Rapidash is purple, which is cool.
Awesome.
There's a lot of them, and there's just no reason for them to be as garbage tier as they made it. And I don't know, makes me angry because, like, there's just no reason. I could go on forever, but let's take things back. Alex, you've been playing Dying Light 2. How's that been?
Okay. 1 second. I'm gonna put my paintbrush down. Because I paint during these table
Oh,
talks.
he's gonna be animated about this one. Okay.
Okay. So I tried to get my thoughts in order when I was once playing it while in a call with Devin and Slug. So Dying Light 2 is a video game that exists.
It does exist. This is true.
It's not copium. I'm not coping. This is just my legit opinion. I swear. Okay, so context. I really like Dying Light 1. I think it's a really fun time. I like parkour games. I think they're great fun. I love Mirror's Edge. I love Dying Light 1. Dying Light 1's story sucks utter dog shit. It is horrible. The main villain is a shitty knockoff of like the worst Far Cry villain, the one in Far Cry 3 after Rise. The only redeeming part of Dying Light 1's story is that the main character, Kyle Crane, gets just as fed up with the bullshit he has to deal with as you do. He reacts the same way you as the player do towards the stupid bullshit. Dying Light 2's main character is not as good as Kyle Crane. I think it's the same voice actor, honestly, but it's like he's just kind of putting up with things, and it's kind of weird. I think I have like 15 hours in the game, and they've explained so much story shit that is just fucking pointless. I skip past all the dialogue. I just mash the B button like as quick as I can when the moment someone starts speaking. Because I know what's happening. I'm trying to find my fucking lost sister who was tested on by the government for evil shit, and I have to help these two factions that are warring against each other, yada yada yada. Whatever. I don't care. But the movement and the combat is really fun. Like, running around the city at top speeds, jumping through, like, doing cool parkour moves while running through, like, obstacles and zombies is a great time. The combat, pretty fun. Better than Dying Light 1 combat. Everything else is pretty bad. I cannot recommend that you play Dying Light 2. Get it on Hyper Sale. But I don't know. I think the best way to put it is I have a lot of fun with the game, but I don't think it's good.
That's very legitimate. Moist Critical made a very similar comment where it feels like they invested way more in the story than they should have, and they still did garbage at it, but they cleaned up pretty much everything of the game and made it cleaner, and the combat was better overall. Charlie also said that it was kind of too easy.
A bit. I turned it on hard so I could actually have fun.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I haven't seen his video on it. But I went back and like reopened and started replaying Dying Light 1, and like, yeah, no, Dying Light 2 just functions better. Everything moves and like controls way nicer than Dying Light 1. Like there's way less jank with the movement. It is so much easier, and the story is so fucking stupid. Like I was like streaming it to Devin and Slug so I could like show them what I was talking about. And literally I had a story moment where I had to talk to a character, talk to another character, then go talk to the same character like as the first time, who somehow was like a few hundred feet away and down a building. But like they can attest, it was just me mashing the B button as quickly as I could because I didn't give a shit and I knew what they were saying. But the dialogue went on for so fucking long, saying nothing. They say nothing of value, so there's no point listening. And besides, like from what I've read, the choices, the big story choices you make, don't actually matter. So like whatever. Still, I've just been like idly playing it till Elden Ring comes out. That's the next game I care about.
Elden Ring is what I'm also waiting for, though I am currently playing Lost Ark, but I'm an MMO player, and no, I don't think anyone else I know really is an MMO player besides
I like
Jess.
Warframe, and that's it. And I wouldn't totally count Warframe as an MMO.
Devin's been playing Death's Door, which is a, I guess, Souls-ish, but that's not a really good way to put it, but in the same genre kind of game. I haven't been playing it, so I can't really speak too much on it, but yeah, it's there's been a lot, and I gotta say for myself personally, I've been trying to approach Lost Ark from a position of wanting to get invested in the game. I think it's very easy to become numb to gaming at times, and you hop into a game and you're just like, whatever, and then you get bored of it really fast because you didn't take the time to invest into it or to even really be in the right mindset to invest into it. So I've been playing it. Yeah. And I've been taking the time and I've been having fun with it. I want to do the harder content. I've been setting myself some goals to like get into the game as well. And it's been good. It's been a good time so far. But, you know, it's one of those things where, especially when it comes to video games, it can feel like they're so a dime a dozen, and when the AAA industry is complete garbage, it's hard to get excited about gaming anymore. Indie developers really push the genre forward, and the indie developers can only pump out games so fast.
Yeah, honestly. Like I can't really say there's many in just total like games that are coming out that I'm excited for. It's like Elden Ring and Warhammer Darktide and Space Marine 2. That's literally it for this entire year. I don't think there's anything else that I'm like genuinely excited for.
I'm in search for Lost Ark because I played in the beta and it was good. Elden Ring though is mwah, and it looks good.
I've heard such good things about it.
There's been so many good things, and not only that, but it looks like, because it's more open world based, co-op is going to be so good.
Oh my god, yeah, it's going to be a game I have a fucking I have a like a character set aside just for co-op. Also, good point, Pal World. We are
Pal World. I'm so intrigued. I don't have high hopes it's going to actually be good.
It's actually made by some people who are really good at designing open world like survival games. They made like Craftopia or something.
Even so, the premise of it is really silly, and I
love it.
It'd be great if it was a really good game that like puts Pokemon Legends Arceus to shame. That'd be so fucking good.
I just wanna. The only thing I need in that game is some form of currency system. I need to become a hyper capitalist for me to get invested.
I see.
You know me. You know how I play games.
I know you, and that's not always a good thing.
No.
But yeah. So overall, gaming's been good. There's been stuff coming out. Elden Ring's coming out in a couple weeks. And the channel is still doing well as well. We're at 499 subscribers, I think, right now.
So close.
We're so close to 500, and we're still keeping up. Like, we're a little behind, but when I started doing YouTube, like, for real, we were at, like, between 20 and 40 subs, somewhere in that range. And so every month, we've been consistently getting 100 subscribers by the month mark. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's evened out so far, and this one looks to be no different. We got 2 days to get 1 subscriber. I think we'll be fine. But yeah, so we'll be at 500, which is halfway there, halfway to being a legit channel, which I'm super excited for. Also, strangely, the Twitch has been doing well, and we're almost at 100 followers on Twitch.
Yo!
We're at 99. Another 99. It's interesting, and I feel like Twitch, it's way harder because, well, one, I'm not a consistent streamer per se, and two, I don't stream like 5 days a week. I do stream though, like 3 to 4 times, and some of that, though, we're not consistent, but it's also because we're tabletop, and tabletop is not consistent at all. People's lives get in the way, and until I start paying people to be there, I can't force anyone to be there. So
yeah, I would love to get paid to appear on your streams. I'd make time for that.
Yeah, I would love to. See, that's another thing as well. If I do make it big, one of the first things I'll do is just pay my friends to game with me, and that'd be the funnest thing. It'd be a good way of spreading wealth and also bringing more consistency.
It'd be like the coolest shit ever.
It would be. And, you know, it's the plan. And like I said, kind of at the beginning of the stream, I've been doing some soul searching and everything like that, and I do want to keep pushing. I just don't know what to push for. A lot of it is, I'm not the kind of person who will ever get big on social media platforms, I don't think. I just don't have the kind of personality for it. And I don't have the entertainment value, I think. Like, if you look at, like, Markiplier. Markiplier is a very entertaining guy. And he's, despite his success, focused on and improved his entertainment value even now, you know, even to what he's been doing currently, which is just impressive. You know, whether you like him or not, he's an energetic person. He looks like he's investing in the games he's playing, and he's entertaining to watch. Other content creators, though, like Jacksepticeye, for instance, while he was entertaining, I think as he's gotten older, he's lost a lot of the energy he used to have. And he's just kind of been chill, and he's just like, you know what, just be yourself. You know, you don't have to put into it too much. But he's had a good career, and that's kind of carried along with him, and it's allowed him to be chill. And then you look at people like Moist Critical, who is not very low energy, but he's...
Moist Critical is very, like, low energy.
He's very low energy, but he's invented this persona that I can only describe as Charlie, you know, Moist Critical. Unless you know him, it's hard to describe who he is accurately.
My favorite story is there was a stream I watched with this guy who's like he does a lot of Twitch stream stuff about analytics and like how to grow and succeed. You know, a genius at these algorithms. And
oh god, is it the finance guy?
Might be. All I know is that it was a stream he did with Ludwig, where Ludwig and him were both complaining about Charlie. And the point they're making was like, how the fuck does he do this and succeed? Because his shit is just like a really weird title and then a picture of himself in his room, like white shirt, nothing else. And then it gets millions of views.
Yep.
And he's just like, how do you do this? Like Charlie's like, I don't know. I just like take a picture and I like write something.
Yep.
It's the man is really entertaining, and it feels like he's trying not to be. However, his videos he does like in the fucking warehouse they have, like just fucking around with like testing stuff, is like really really good.
Yeah, I do like that. I watch a fair amount of Moist Critical nowadays.
Yeah, he's entertaining.
He's entertaining. I don't know. The thing with me is I'm just what we're seeing here in this chat and whatever is the most animated I am in a given day. And it's not that I'm being fake. I'm just really good when I'm in a situation where I'm leading or doing something. Like if I was in charge of a project, I'd bring this energy. If I'm in charge of whatever, I bring this energy. But outside of this, I'm very quiet, reserved. I just like to analyze, and I like to talk to people. You know, it's one of the things I really like to do. And I think I can get people to at least want to listen to me talk about things, especially because I like to think very dynamically about a lot of different topics and such like that.
I mean, that can be proven by me with my ADHD brain, where we've just sat in your place and just talked for like 6 hours straight.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's what makes me a good DM, too.
Agreed.
Because I take the situation, I'm in charge, it's my game. And so I'm watching, I'm listening. When players stop talking, I'm providing them information. I have a good mind for, saying the scene or whatever. There's a lot of things. I'm really good at that kind of entertainment. But when it comes to being a content creator, it gets a lot rougher. Especially when it comes to video production, because I'm not talking to anyone. I have a very strong, leadership vibe that doesn't translate well when I'm alone. And everyone's liked my videos, and everyone... Honestly, and here's some real cool facts for people out there. If you go to YouTube and you type in Pathfinder 2E, and any of the classes I've done a video for were top 5.
Ooh, I'm checking right now.
Yep, I figured you would. One time I did get top 7. I think that was for Inventor. It was a newer video. Or no, Summoner.
There you are. Yep. You're on the fucking video tab of Google too. Page 1.
Yeah. You know how amazing that is?
That's pretty cool.
That's really good. For a channel that's been working for about almost 6 months, 5 months now, That's really good. If anyone is looking up content for Pathfinder, they have a high chance of running into my videos. I just need to do more of the videos that people are looking up for. So I gotta finish out the classes. I gotta see what other things people are actually looking up for Pathfinder, and make videos on that kind of stuff. And I think we'll be doing really good. But yeah, I was actually, because every time before when I was going on to I go into incognito mode and check on YouTube and Pathfinder 2E, my videos would be there. Sometimes top 20, sometimes not, whatever. So I was like, okay, I expected this much. But then when I started actually typing in the class and my videos, the class and Pathfinder 2E, my videos are always top 5. My videos are essentially competitive with the other top, Pathfinder content creators.
Hell yeah.
That's super good, and we can do more with that. I'm even curious to see if I could do more with that in other types of content or genres as well. I don't know. It's hard to say. Pathfinder is admittedly a pretty small, pond. It's a pretty small pond in the realm of YouTube. But still, even that, we're still knocking it out of the park. And I think my Bard video is the second one, I want to say. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in this chat as well is other tabletop games, kind of because I think other tabletop games are interesting, and talking about them brings things to the table, as well as talking about some of the gaming stuff, because I know Alex and I have been playing some new games recently, and right now new game stuff is really good. But also kind of just in a way brainstorming like what makes a good tabletop game and what other content people are out there interested in. So Alex, I know you haven't played too many tabletop games.
Not like tabletop RPGs. I've been playing more war games, honestly.
Yeah. Let's take this to tabletop RPGs, because technically, if you count like board games, then sure. I think any given individual has played like 8 of them at least. So you've played, what, maybe like 5-6 systems, do you think?
Probably. Not some of them not for very long. Like Vampire the Masquerade, like is the one I played for a session.
Fair. And same technically with the newer one. I played the older one more, but I think still 1 or 2 sessions. And I would count myself as a moderate when it comes to the amount of tabletop games I've played. I've played pretty much all the big ones, and then some other ones on the side. So let's take this kind of one step at a time. What tabletop system do you think has the funnest character creation system, barring how the game actually might work?
Anima.
That was a given.
Yeah.
That was a given. I would say the same.
I love it.
I would say the same. Anima, literally, you can make any character you want, and it's pretty viable.
Exactly. It is incredibly easy to just make whatever you want, and I like me a system that is just inherently flawed and kind of dumb.
Yeah. Not that that's their intent, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's I would agree. Anima, you just can make any kind of character whatsoever. The fact that they have rules for creating key techniques, I think, is a big factor, as well as, honestly, for a game no one's heard about, they have so many books chock full of rules for making stuff. Like, it's actually kind of crazy, I think, how many books Anima has that people just never heard of the game before.
It's impressive. I respect that kind of like initiative to do something like that.
To be fair, it was pretty big in Spain, from what I've researched.
That would make sense.
So, being a Spanish company, that's, kind of par for the course, but apparently is really actually good in Anima. To the point where I still get comments every now and then on my Anima video of people who are just like, I just want to see more Anima content. And, well, I would love to. I can't cater to at most 100 people on YouTube.
I will. Stay tuned, y'all. Something's coming up in the next year. I will eventually make a long video about why Anima is so fun and stupid.
I will say, if I ever get to the point where I can afford editors and my workload gets alleviated somewhat, I may take that time to make some content on Anima. I think it'd be a good time. But right now, video production, and also, like, I recommend everyone go check out my YouTube is Hard video. It explains kind of a lot of the process I've been going through and some of the issues I've been having and all that kind of stuff. But I have been trying to change the entire way I work and do things to do this. And it's hard. It's hard because if you're someone who just was never even inclined to do something and then to start doing that regularly, I mean, here's a good example. Working out, right? Who set a New Year's resolution at some point to get fit in a year?
I did.
And then stopped like a few months in.
I have done that. it's really hard to actually like set yourself up to like do something like that. take this from me, a guy who's been like pretty fat my entire life, and now 2022, I've decided, you know what? I've done this every fucking year, like the whole I'm gonna go work out, and then you never do it, and I've actually been doing it. It's not easy, and there's a lot of moments where I'm like, I don't want to, but you still do it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
I've done that many times and failed. I've done YouTube actually a fair amount, periodically, and failed. You know, like I remember I made like 200 videos on YouTube, and rather consistently, I would say, for the time, for like 6 months, 5 months, or whatever, and failed and stopped for a few years, and now we're back and we're trying again. And I'm doing it better than I ever have. And as I say in that video, just don't, if you want to try, don't give up, you know. And not giving up is not something as simple as you fail. You can fail and still succeed again later. Your life is long enough, and so many roads are presented to you. You never know when something you tried in the past will come back and be something that changes your life.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's this whole thing with the YouTube. Like, I made 200 videos and I ended with like 20-ish, I think, subscribers. I think it's like 23 is what I started again when we started making content again last year. And despite making 200 videos then, I've made now like I think another 200 videos, but I've been, I don't know, 100 times more successful technically. Actually, over 100 times more successful. Yeah, like 200 times more successful. Yeah, and it's huge, you know. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those. I don't even know how I got on the subject again. Honestly, last time we were talking about was like why anima's. We were talking about making videos for anima. Yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, let's try to get back on subject again. So now question is funnest game system. Barring anything else, barring genre, barring whatever.
Man. That it's hard. I love how Anima plays. Like I genuinely do. I think it's a great time. I don't think the rules are good though. Honestly, I've stated what my favorite system is, but most fun to play is too dependent on the person running it and who I'm with to like answer. Because I can say like, I've had some of the most fun I've had in tabletop in 5e, but 5e is not my favorite. Like I've enjoyed playing 5e like more than other systems. I've enjoyed playing Pathfinder more than other systems, but it's dependent on the people.
That's fair.
I cannot give a good answer on it.
That's fair. You know what? I respect that answer. I guess it's just the level of how deep we are into it. You don't look at the game as much as I do, so like
I'm there for the people there.
That's like, fair. And I think
if the rules were dog shit like in Anima, I'm still there for the people.
That's fair. And to be fair, as Devin is saying in the chat here, my Anima is also very different and runs for the most part better. For the most part, I've still run into ruts, mostly because players get too strong, and I just don't know what to do with the system. Because it's either fight fire with fire, but not all the players are necessarily on the same battlefield kind of situation. But mine is definitely Pathfinder 2e. Mechanically speaking, Pathfinder 2e just offers so much, and you're rewarded for so many different playstyle choices. If you want to play a super tanky support character, you got that. If you want to play a super tanky Juggernaut character, you got that. if you want to play a versatile utility mage, you got that. You want to play a super blasty kill everything mage, you got that. And you're rewarded every single time. You want to make a crafter? They got shits that make you excited to be a crafter. Like, I've never run a game or been in a game where there was something legitimately exciting about crafting. Hey, D Goots, thanks for the sub. You're number 500. So congrats, thank you. That's awesome. Also, I don't know where that dinosaur came from.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's been a zombie up until recently. I don't know why it's a dinosaur now, so that's cool, I guess.
That's a little funny thing from, what is it, Streamlabs?
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, so, and I do think you actually make a very good point. It's legitimately fun only based on the amount of people there. And I think that's why tabletop is as popular as it is, but why it has, I think, a very definitive ceiling as far as like population-based interest. Like, the amount of people that are getting interested in tabletop nowadays, I think are just going to be like the new standard. I don't think it's going to get any more popular. And it might only get a little less popular, but I don't think it'll plummet back to obscurity like it used to be.
Yeah, most likely not. I mean, though I will say, at least in my case, as someone who does not care and look deeply into like mechanics and how stuff run, for any game I do, I don't care what. It's always dependent on the people in there. Like, one of the reasons I'm a massive Warhammer fan is because in the town I'm in, there is actually a pretty sizable and pretty cool like number of people who also play Warhammer. I would not be as into it if that wasn't here. I would just probably have stopped getting into it like a few months in and just had some cool minis that I painted. Now it's like I have a lot of armies and a lot of people that I'm playing games with. We're even doing a fucking like story mode. We're doing a giant like a star system campaign where we're all writing lore for our fights, like pre and post battle fights, like stuff in character, like for our warlords. It's a dope time, and I only enjoy it because everyone there is really cool.
I think this is true for gaming as a whole. MMOs thrive on this kind of community building, but I had the perfect example, not for the audience, but for everyone involved. Watching Devin play the Fermi Paradox.
That was great.
All of us sitting together, watching Devin play the Fermi Paradox, which is this fun little indie game, where it's essentially a narrative choice-making game. There's no major mechanics, there's no action gameplay. You just make choices and you see the results. Not a game that I view as being overly fun, especially by yourself. But for some reason, it worked out where we all just sat down, played, watched Devin play, and he gave us like roles depending on peoples that formed or whatever. And we had a blast just making weird decisions and seeing the results of that. But that only worked because we were all doing it together and we were just having a bunch of fun there.
Yeah, I would never buy the Fermi Paradox on my own, but I will say, being high as fuck, like laying down in your chair and then seeing your little fish people become galactic tyrants is a pretty good time. And anytime, because I just picked the options, whatever would make my guys more evil. I was like, I want to be a force to be reckoned with. And then I left because I had to go to sleep. But apparently you destroyed my shit. I was the villain.
I defeated everyone. I turned into the better villain. It was a good time. Yeah, it was a good time.
It was a great time.
And I think that's completely fair. And that's kind of why I think tabletop is one of the hardest genres to make super popular. Because your experience in the game is so determined by the other people and the GM especially.
And it just so happens that a lot of times nerds can be the absolute best or worst fucking people you've ever met.
Oh, 100%. I mean, well, see, nerd is such a weird classification because now it doesn't even really exist. Everyone is kind of a nerd now.
True.
Because the things that people used to define as nerd, it just became cultural now. Like, we're all on the internet. We're all spending time on the internet, memeing, talking, watching videos. Because you cannot tell me everyone sitting watching a stream or all those people commenting on YouTube videos are not nerds.
Yeah, they totally are. Granted, in my own personal vernacular, many of the time I use nerd as a word to denominate a person that like you just kind of want a wedgie or like give a swirly or something, like if you're a jock.
I guess.
That's my perspective. When I call someone a nerd, I'm like, usually they're kind of a loser. But not everyone takes that as an insult. Granted, I think the people who are like, I'm a nerd and I'm proud, I think that's weirder. But
I don't think that's weirder. I think
it's for me.
I say I'm a nerd all the time in a rather positive light.
I don't know. I'm also just as a person, I don't like it when I don't like attaching like labels to myself. So whenever someone's like, this is my title, I'm this thing, I'm like, that is weird. Like the people who are like passionate, I'm a weeb, like that shit I find weird.
I mean, I find people who define themselves by their labels to be weird.
Yeah.
But I also know I'm not the biggest nerd out there because my god. Like, you want to see a really sweaty community, you want to see a community that gets really sweaty about their thing. Tabletop is one of the sweatiest communities out there.
Fucking agreed.
You literally post something and you'll get 100 people coming in giving their takes and just asserting that they're right in a game that's very like subjective.
Yeah, it's the thing of like I've been considering because I've talked to you about this off streams, but like I've been highly considering just like trying out video production stuff. It's one of the things of I have no intention of doing like I guess stuff on like games I play constantly. Anima is an exception because I think it's a genuinely interesting topic, like to go over anima stuff and how it works to people who don't know how it works. Like, I would never make a video on, like, my Warhammer stuff, like, what I do, because there's so many fucking sweaty losers out there that'll get upset because I'm not running meta or, like, whatever. I'm just thinking, haha, high infantry custodians are funny. Or, I want to run this really dumb list because I like these models. And meanwhile, people are like, those models suck, they're unviable.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that bullshit. I like a model, I'm gonna use it. I like a class, I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, well, I think we both kind of classify in the sub-meta players, where we understand how the games work and choose not to follow the meta.
Yeah, I know how to make viable builds in Pathfinder. I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I just think giving all your characters a gun just sounds like a good time. I don't care if it works.
Yeah. I can't say anything. My character in Suzanne's game just got a gun. So
it just improves your character.
I can't fight it. And it's just I went for he turned into a strange investigator assassin build. And a gun just makes it work so much better.
Yeah. It works for most things. If you want to improve anything in any genre, add guns.
Hard disagree on that, but...
Literally, you cannot prove me wrong.
Literally, I can.
Do it.
Sci-fi. Because they already got guns. You can't
add
get
bigger guns. Bigger guns.
They already have bigger guns.
Just do what Warhammer does and make up new guns that are just a gun duct taped to another gun.
I mean, Warhammer is in that genre, and
I know.
you can't add guns. You literally can't add guns to Warhammer.
I think you can. I refuse to use this argument.
But right, so, and I think that's, again, another factor why tabletop is just something that will always be, like, whether you become famous with it or not will be magic. Because the Critical Role cast is such an anomaly. But then there's other anomalies as well. There's other people who do really well and even live off of it. Even like Arcadum before the whole fiasco, you know? And he still gets like thousands of viewers despite that.
Oh, he's still making shit?
Yeah, he's still streaming.
And
yeah, right. I thought the same. Now he's even doing D&D again. But, you know, that's the thing. He got so big that he literally couldn't fail, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, at least that's gonna hopefully prevent future issues now that, you know, it's common knowledge that he's a weird sex pervert.
Yeah. Hopefully. We can only hope. But yeah, you never know. The people who succeed in it succeed for different reasons. Critical Role succeeded because they have a full cast of charismatic actors, in a sense. And they're all enjoyable people to watch and are entertaining, and they made it good. And now they've made essentially the best, like, D&D, non-D&D property out there. I would not even second guess myself in saying that the Critical Role Vox Machina animation they've done is the best representation of D&D brought to another media source. Besides, like, maybe other games like Baldur's Gate or whatever, which were wildly successful too.
It immediately showcases real D&D by the fact of how many doors have completely halted their progress.
And it's super funny. They make
what
it
happens.
The most recent episode, not to give spoilers.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it yet.
But they're literally like fighting over trying to get this door open. And Percy's just like, I'm going to climb in through the window. And then they cut back to them a little bit later. And Percy falls on them. He's like, I fell out of the window. And it's the funniest thing ever. And, you know, like, they have dice everywhere. It's super hella nerdy. It's got all that stuff. And the thing is, I think where they succeeded was the fact that they didn't try to make it too much like the tabletop game when they brought it over to media.
Yeah, it's a show, but it calls back to the D&D-esque shit where you're like, oh yeah, that's a monster, like that's a
Manticore.
Yeah, or that's a lair action that thing just used, or that, oh, I know that ability. Yeah. That's a class ability. Or like, oh, that's relatable. I've been in a session where we've been stuck on a door for an hour, where we spent way too long planning. Like that kind of thing. It's relatable.
It is. I've seen other movies like Darkness Rising, which was a fun one. It was a good movie, by the way. I recommend anyone who likes tabletop to watch it. But it, you know, wasn't. It was kind of a niche genre of movie. They've tried many times to make D&D movies and have failed miserably most of the time. And the closest they've kind of done is like in anime. They have a lot of like, you know, like isekai game versions where everyone gets transported into the game and have to play it. And that's really close, but they're all MMO based and they're not actually tabletop based. But Critical Role has made something that you can see, watch, and you know, if you're in the community, you recognize it's D&D, but it's good media.
Yeah, you can enjoy it in isolation of D&D, which is what really matters.
Some other popular people. Arcadum before the fall was the guy who got a bunch of very popular streamers together to play D&D and made it fun and made it epic. Formed a massive community to the point where they were rivaling D&D or Critical Role on Twitch. To think that, to throw that away too, that's tragic.
Yeah.
But whatever. I could talk about how sad I am over that another day. Dingo Doodles, one of the most popular D&D animation channels, has been wildly successful with their storytelling and their Fool's Gold Kickstarter that was very successful, and that's come out recently, and their animation style is good, and they've made some good content as well. There was even Puffin Forest, who did his own really not great animation and still got really far on YouTube, like 400,000, I think.
Honestly, it's just because he can tell a story pretty well.
Yeah. And it's all witchcraft to me. I have no idea how any of these people do it and do it in different enough ways to get successful. Hell, XP to level 3. Another one. Probably the most successful non-animation, non-Critical Role like D&D channel on YouTube currently. Most of his content is just weird skits or hot takes. Or like actual like D&D, like here's my novels or whatever. And I'll agree. He also is really good at like narration and making it entertaining to watch him or whatever. But there's tons of people out there who are entertaining to watch, and there's just some people get a, it just works for them. And I can't tell you exactly what brought it. Critical Role, I can at least like say they were well known enough, and they were brought onto one of the like nerd based channel companies, and they exploded because a good mix of just good D&D and charismatic players.
I also find it really funny that the reason I discovered Critical Role was literally because I was playing Fire Emblem Awakening. And I was like, man, this voice actor for Crom and Lucina are really good. I wonder who they are. And I was like, Critical Role, D&D, I vaguely know what that is. And I just watched an episode and was like, damn, that was good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was just trying to figure out who voiced these characters that I liked. And then, like, there it goes, like, right to Critical Role.
And so it's like, right, I would like to do that. I just don't know how I would. I do well in these formats, and I think my class videos are very indicative of the fact that I can make content interesting to people, and they can watch it, Also, if you take a look at the channel, a lot of my class videos who have been around for at least a couple months are in the thousands of views. Well, 1,000 or 2,000 views, I should say. Don't want to blow it up to more than it is. Like, a lot of them are. That's really good. That's really good for a channel that has only 500 subscribers now.
Yeah.
And I get pretty good, like, average, like the kind of retention you would see on any other well-performing channel as well. So, like, it's good content. I just got to find out what to do next,
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. But, that's what we're here to do. And the hard part as well is trying to move away from Pathfinder. Not move away. Trying to move in a lateral direction, Horizontal progression. Spreading to other bases. That's where I think I'm struggling a bit. But at the same time, if I make a game and it works and it's really, really fun and gets really popular, boom, there it is. Just gotta do all the prior stuff first, make a good game, and then
Yeah,
get
you know,
popular.
Very easy.
Very easy, super easy. Yeah, you know, and it's just kind of the thing of like, I think what I've learned a lot from YouTube and Twitch is consistency is honestly the biggest thing. It's not a guarantee, but if you do well enough and then are consistent, you will get somewhere. I think many of the ones that don't get that far up or that high, they don't post content consistently, or they don't produce the same quality as consistently, or many other things. So if you're just consistent, that's what you gotta do, and that's what I've been trying to do as well. It's been hard recently, especially life getting in the way a lot, but I'm bouncing back and trying again, and it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be fun. But I also understand that even a consistent channel based on Pathfinder is still not exactly where I want it to be, you know. And I think that's the thing, is my goal overall on YouTube is to get to over 100,000 subscribers. You know, I think if I can get to that point, I'll be content, no matter how it ends after that. As long as I guess it doesn't end in some weird controversy or something, which I don't intend to happen. But, you know, there's definitely bad ways to end something.
I hope you don't start some fucking big controversy.
At least, not unless it's getting me more subscribers.
I mean, if for some reason I do video essays and it blows up, I will totally fake drama with you.
I'll totally fake drama with you too.
We'll beef.
We'll beef, yeah. We'll beef, and everyone will know that we're for real, and will not second guess it whatsoever. You know, actually, fuck, I can't even say that like sarcastically, because so many people will just not see that, despite everything.
Yeah,
you can literally
some YouTube fans are fucking dense as fuck.
Well, it's just there's just lots of dumb people on the internet. That's it. There's tons, and they're always the ones that talk the most. And it's not to say that that's the majority, I think, because you can literally look at any video, and you can see, even if it's a hated video, look at the number of people who watched versus commented.
Yeah.
It's like a 1%, 2% comment rate, you know? So even for shit that's really terrible, there's only just so many people who actually just say nothing about it, you know? Like, it's the grand majority. It's just one of those things. Hell, even look at like my videos. I get like negative comments every here and there, and it's about less than the % of the actual like views on the video. So it's like, it happens no matter what. You just gotta understand that like people just try to make stupid other people's problems. They're coming up to you and they're trying to make their dumb your problem, and you just gotta not let them. Alright, this has been a very off-track video. Or not, well, I guess live stream / it becomes a video after the fact, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is just an excuse just to have a nothing super serious chat, you know?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
After the last month, I think I just need something that wasn't very orchestrated.
Fair.
But I do kind of want to get back onto it a little bit. Alex, when it comes to tabletop, right? Are you looking for a better game? Or are you just looking for a better group?
Better group. If a game, I don't give a shit if anything's dog shit. If I'm experiencing it with the right people, it's fun.
And see, I think this is the crux of it, right? I legitimately want to know how many people out there are actually looking for a better tabletop game. Or how many people out there are just like you, Alex, who just want that experience, that better tabletop experience, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've fucking got it in one, apparently, like with y'all. But
Yeah, you got
fucking,
lucky.
I did. But like for any game system, I don't, or even like video game or whatever, like movie, I don't care. As long as it's like with people I think is fun to talk to and hang out with, that's in the end all that matters. That's why I can have fun playing like Warhammer when I'm getting the absolute shit kicked out of me, like in the game. And if it's like the person's cool enough, I'm having a good time. Which has happened many a time, where I'm getting my fucking cheeks clapped by some dude with a meta army, but they happen to be really cool. I don't enjoy Among Us though. I hate that game. There are limits.
I knew that one was coming. But yeah, so I am the same but different. Hey Jess, welcome.
Hey.
I'm of the mindset of I want a better tabletop game because I feel like if the experience is more fun, it makes the game easier to run and play, and thus, you know, isn't something that's so oftentimes catastrophically up for just falling apart, you know? Because there's a lot of games, there's a lot of people out there who just have games that just collapse all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that even I, who has been really consistent for the last few years, have just had a lot of moments recently where 2 players can't play in a 5-player game. And so the party's like, well, if half the party's not here, we probably shouldn't play. And like, I picked 5 players specifically, so if one leaves, at least we can keep going. But I keep having 2 people call outs, or I keep having a rough time myself. And if the GM calls out, then, you know, you're kind of done.
Yeah, there's no game.
But I don't know. I also have been trying to work on designing a game that is a lot more self-running in a lot of ways. I essentially want to alleviate as much pressure off the GM as possible, so that more people will take up the job, or more groups just are okay with trying it out. No, I can't do that many players.
8 players. Sounds like a fucking nightmare.
I like, even now, like the Critical Role cast, I think is starting to get too much. Sometimes they'll just have an entire session where a player doesn't do anything or barely says anything.
That
And
does just happen sometimes, sadly.
yeah, I mean, that does, but if you had a smaller group, it would happen way less often.
Yeah. Though getting rid of one of the Critical Role casts would be like catastrophic.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm using it as an example of what's happening, not for a cry for them to fix it. But that's just an issue with tabletop.
Yeah.
You know, if you got 8 players, you got to divide how much time people are talking in 4 hours by 8, you know. That means each player, if at most, gets to talk for 30 minutes. That's just one of those things with tabletop that, like, you have to balance it out. You have to give as much time to as many people as possible. But yeah, I don't know. I want to make a game system that is really fun and a lot of people can play. I also want to build like a community with it. I was talking to Devin before. I want to start my game and have a role-playing forum for it as well. For all those forum role players, because they're out there. And they're not well represented.
Yeah, get that untapped market.
Yeah. It's just, there's just so much that I think tabletop could be. But right now we're working with very old systems like D&D 5e. I think just syncs itself with some of the old systems they try to keep. And the things they do change, I don't feel are necessarily for the best sometimes.
Yeah, be like that.
Where I think Pathfinder 2e is a very good game, I think it runs really well. And yet, at the same time, because it's stuck on that whole, like, not J.R.R. Tolkien.
It is still like Tolkien-esque.
Yeah, it's very Tolkien-esque.
It's Western fantasies, which so it has to be Tolkien-esque.
J.R.R. Martin, style content. And I think they're just hard stuck in that. And I'm not tired of medieval fantasy, but I would definitely like a palette change. I want to play a game that's as fun as Pathfinder 2e or D&D 5e even, but in a different genre. And there's not many games that do it as well. I would say Vampire the Masquerade does it really well, and I'm sure there's some other systems that do it well, but I think they're kind of blocked in some way. Star Wars as well is a hard one, but I think Star Wars has some fundamental universe problems that make it hard.
Yeah, the universe itself is just like personal taste here. I don't like Star Wars.
Hot take.
I don't like the universe. Comics are cool. The games are cool. I don't like it. Though I will say, Warhammer 40k tabletop game like RPG would be so fucking cool. The problem is a lot of them need to just I just think they should shy away from trying to be the war game. That happens so much. A lot of the game functions super similarly to the main 40k game. I think it should shy away. Try not being a D6 system, be D100, D20 system. If there was just Pathfinder, 2e or something, Pathfinder but with Warhammer, all over it, I'd be on that shit immediately.
Yeah.
It's just
the Warhammer... use the restroom real quick. Keep going.
I will do my best. There are two Warhammer tabletop games. It's Dark Heresy and Wrath and Glory. From what I've heard, Dark Heresy is really good. The problem is that they're just weird. They're not as intuitive as D&D is. I think if they make a just really intuitive Warhammer system, it'll do well. I think the universe is popular enough that it'll do well on that front if the main cost is a $60 book. This is coming from someone who's tried to run Wrath and Glory and it is a fucking trip. I would just like to be a fucking space marine or commissar running around killing things. That'd be a very fun time. I love to play in that universe. Shit. See, I'm not good at talking for long periods of time like Cameron is. I can't talk directionless. I can just shit on Star Wars. I don't like Star Wars either, Devin. I think the video games are fun. I think George Lucas is a hack and doesn't know how to direct a movie. I really hope in my future film career I don't have to meet George Lucas and these statements will come back to him. That'd be very awkward. I don't know. I also don't like universes where they have answers for everything. I like it when a universe is badly written. So if you have a valid question, you're told to shut up and stop asking questions. I mean, yeah, you could use Hell Knight rules for some Space Marines. There are some Space Marines that fit better as Hell Knights. Off the top of my head, stuff like Black Templars, Exorcist Successor Chapter, that kind of stuff would work really well. Specifically, actually, the Exorcist Chapter would do very well for Hell Knight, especially because one of their initiations is that you get possessed by a demon, so you'll learn how to fight against it. Which actually, funnily enough, I am painting an Exorcist right now.
You know what's funny too? That's exactly how Hell Knights work. In order to become an official Hell Knight, they have to fight a devil.
I see you talking on stream, but I don't hear you.
Oops.
There you go.
I was like, oh yeah, it's picking up my mic. I must be on voice activity. Not on Discord, I'm not. Funny enough, that's how Hell Knights work. You have to fight a devil to join the Hell Knight order.
Yeah.
After you're done with being an armiger.
It's actually really fun on the tabletop. This isn't going to mean anything for a lot of people, but they have a special rule. It's called by thy will I deny thee, and it makes you slightly tougher. So like really powerful weapons can't wound you as effectively, and against mortal wounds, which means against psychic shit, you have a 5-up feel no pain. So you roll a 5 or a 6, and you don't take a damage from it. And very fun, because they will literally like just put demons inside their initiates and then tell them, get it out of you, exercise it. Which a lot of people in the Imperium do not approve of that practice at all, for obvious fucking reasons. But they're very cool, and I am painting one up. I'm getting into Space Marines finally. Because I want to be treated well by GW for once in my life.
I also had a really good idea when I was in the restroom there. A game, or a community anyway, where on their website you have community-made NPCs, where they can upload character art, short bios for NPCs to populate in your world. And all you have to do is just have an approval process, and then people can go add their characters up there. And then whenever you as a GM need to make a character, you just have to type in the category, pull a character at random, and there you go. You have a pre-made NPC.
Yeah. That would help a lot of people. And by the way, I need to clear the record here. I need to clear this. Exorcists are not Ultramarines. They are actually they are a successor chapter of the Imperial Fists. And so they are not Ultramarines. They are a different Primarch. There you go.
Nerd.
Yes, when I talk about 40k shit, I am absolutely my definition of peak bullyable nerd.
It's okay. When I get too heated in Pathfinder 2e, I get a little sweaty. There's a video on there's a comment on a NoNat video that is literally like a short story. I'm pretty sure it has like 6 paragraphs in it or something like that. Oh boy, that was I got really heated on that one.
Ooh, you causing drama out in the community?
Not really. In fact, no one really noticed it, or if they did, they didn't care, which is fair. I don't want to dox myself. I don't want to dox my like non-YouTuber YouTube channel, because I want the ability to comment on other channels without starting drama.
Good idea, but you should totally send me a link to that video privately, so I can see it and laugh at the comment you made fun of. Because I want that enjoyment.
Sure, you know what? Let me do that right now. You gotta look for the comment though. It's gonna be some time.
I can find it.
There you go.
Dope.
But yeah, I got really sweaty on that one, I have to admit. Though I get sweaty only for reasons of like, if someone is saying I don't like this class or that class for very unfounded reasons, like I hate when players are like, don't play this class, meta-wise it's not good. I hate that. I think that's nonsense. The reason why I think that's nonsense is because any game designer worth their salt makes it so that the content that they have can be beat or participated in by any class available.
Yeah, it's talking about like is or isn't viable, it's lame as fuck. That shouldn't be. I mean, with how we play it's not even a topic of conversation. But like, man, just like do a thing you want to do. Don't you be like, I can do this thing and this thing and this thing. Just be like, I like this. This is fun, or this is funny. I'll do this.
And just, I have checked that one out. I do think it's really interesting. It's still got a ways to go, but I do think it's a really good tool to use. The one more universe, or one more multiverse site. I do gotta admit, though, I did a bunch of math in that comment. I'm very glad I finally did the math out loud, because it just reinforced my point. And like, it's something that I never did, but I knew I play the game enough to know just instinctively how things are done. And when I did all the math, it made it pretty much obvious that the complaint was invalid. But yeah, I always hate when people say, don't play this class, don't play this class or whatever, because you do half as much damage as this class or whatever. So what? Especially in tabletop. It's a narrative game. Most rules are geared towards combat, and combat's one of the 3 pillars. It's one of 3 pillars. Your game, it means that even if your character sucks at one of those 3 pillars, as long as you do well in the other 2, you're good, you're gold, you know? And legitimately, there's tons of cases out there of characters who were made poorly, but they had good exploration skills, good narrative, and they were a great character.
Yeah, that's what matters in the end. Just have like a character that's cool or fun. That's all that really matters.
And I don't even argue that playing with a player who's super sweaty and focuses on the combat and out of combat like exploration stuff, but just has a suck ass character, just is gonna be bad anyway. So like, who cares? As long as your character functions well enough to participate in the combat, or offers a lot of benefits outside of combat, you're good. That's all you gotta worry about. Don't worry about meta. Meta doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you're not playing a war game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not competitive. It's a group narrative game. You're just all telling a story together. Who's the meta against?
Yeah, like I will be honest. I'm a massive proponent of no meta, do what you want. However, I will get sweaty as fuck list creating when it comes to like actual tournaments. As something I plan to do in like the summer and like next quarter of like actually competing in like tournaments like seriously, I will make some sweaty as fuck lists that are the meta and busted. That's, you know, but that's a competition like for money.
Well, yeah, and
yeah, that'll do it. But like, if I'm just gonna like, hey, yo, you want to play a game real quick? It's like, yeah, sure, all right, I'm gonna do this. That's funny, and then that's usually how it goes. Or I make a list and I'm like, you know, it'd be funny if I just bring as many of this one model as possible.
Yeah,
I am not a meta slave. I only do it for important things, like if I'm trying to win money, then I will be.
I think that's why games like League of Legends are so toxic.
Probably. Because
the game is hyper competitive, because you're not only competing against like the people in your lane, but you're competing against an entire team. So whether you win or lose isn't a question as much as whether you do well, but your teammates do well against their teammates. And so you just get put in a lot of bad situations that way. GG, no bot. Yeah, for real. Which is funny because I actually love playing bot. So I see that one not that often, but I see it on the other team a lot. But it's one of those. I'm not saying I don't play bad sometimes. I do, but just not that bad. But yeah, you know, like if you want to compete and you're compete for competing's sake, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely legitimate. In tabletop, you're not competing against anyone. You could argue you're competing against the DM, but if the DM is trying to compete with their players, something is inherently wrong. The GM can literally kill you without you having any ability to do anything about it. So you can't really compete with that. And you know what? It's actually super funny. I like casual gaming in a sense, and I like doing things for the sake of doing things. But there's just some places you can't do that. I recently got Master Duel on Steam. It's free, but it's the Yu-Gi-Oh! Online dueling thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know what? I want to try it out. I want to see what Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! is a very complex game, by the way. I did not realize how complex Yu-Gi-Oh! Was until I got into it. Hoo boy.
Yeah, I remember when that game dropped. It was really funny. People just being like, "Hey, I just got into like this Yu-Gi-Oh! Check this out." It's like turn one, someone plays cards for like 10 minutes, and then the opponent loses.
Yeah, and that's
stupid. I love it.
That's exactly what I had. I was doing the story stuff, getting some cards together, made it a deck, and I was like, I like this deck. I think it's cool. Let me go try it out. I start a game. I place a card in face down defense position, and I have a trap card, and that's it. That's my beginning turn. I'm like, all right, here we go. Their turn. They summon 7 creatures with over 2100 attack. Then special summon by combining a few of them to make a couple creatures over 3200 attack. Destroy what I had on the field. And then summon 2 more creatures with over 2100 attack. And they were done. I was like, I can't win. I said that literally out loud to myself.
That's Yu-Gi-Oh!
And it's like, I just wanted to play some casual, like, shits and giggles Yu-Gi-Oh, you know? And the thing is, Master Duel doesn't have anything other than, they have lobby-based gaming. So if you go to someone's lobby and, you know, I find that weird. Just set me up randomly in a non-MMR game, please. But no, they got lobby games and MMR ranked games. And that's it.
By the way, this reminds me, it's a little off topic, but did you know? Do you know about the beautiful time in Yu-Gi-Oh! History where they didn't have a deck limit?
Yeah. That was early game. That was early in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Do you know the story of the Mission Impossible deck?
Yes, I've heard of this one.
Yes. For people who don't know, before like early Yu-Gi-Oh, actually for like a decent runtime of the competitive scene, there was no rule on how many cards you could have in your deck. So some German guy decided as a joke, there's a lot of things coming out saying he did this to like change the meta. No, he thought it'd be funny, and I respect that. He created a deck with 2,222 cards in it. That deck was filled with cards that made him reshuffle or search through his deck.
Yeah.
A deck so big he had his friend help him pilot it. He didn't win the tournament, of course, because he got disqualified. But he achieved his goal, and everyone thought it was funny.
Yeah. I saw a picture of them bringing the deck in, and it's in one of those big card boxes, like a super long one. And then they're setting it on the table, and there's just like so many decks that are like a foot tall. Yeah.
I'm gonna put the picture in the Discord, so if you want to see it,
okay,
feel free.
We can share this with the chat. By the way, if you want to see these pictures live in your own Discords, you can join us at the official Bad Luck Gamer Discord. Link down below in the description or below on Twitch. We do all kinds of nerdy stuff, talk table talk Warhammer 40k, and of course I always recruit there first for any of our online games, or not any, but like a good number of them. Let me set my scene up here.
Also, the guy who was running it was a judge for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like competitive.
Yeah, I heard
you knew
that.
exactly what he was doing. Also, apparently the name has like a double meaning in German. Like I need to find like the weird translation, but like it's I just remember like the name Mission Impossible. There's a second meaning it has in like German that is really fucking clever. But yeah, it is a very funny story if you can hear it. There's a good channel, Many Kudos. He did a video on Yu-Gi-Oh! Controversies. I would recommend that video. He talks about the Mission Impossible deck, and it is a good story.
All right, here we go. We got it live. The hats, everything. Yeah. No, this guy, he did a lot of other things too, actually.
I know he might have done like a few other like joke stuff, but apparently he's just a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, no, there was I was watching a YouTube video on just like Yu-Gi-Oh! Controversies or something like that. I can't
We're literally
remember.
talking about the same video. It's
We might be, yeah.
Is it just some Australian guy?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I watch his stuff. Yeah, it's the same dude.
But yeah, it's pretty nuts. And that's the thing, right? You just gotta have fun with it, and you gotta not get so sweaty, especially when it's something that's not competitive. And this guy went to a competitive event and just had fun with it instead, which is fair, you know. But it's just one of those things of like, I get so irritated when someone is like, this doesn't work in Pathfinder 2e, because the thing about Pathfinder 2e, it's such a solid system. I struggle to find anything wrong with how Pathfinder 2e does anything. All the classes feel good. They all run super well. A lot of the like skills should get better feats, but the feats they have are pretty serviceable. There's just so many ways you can play the game, and I just don't feel like there's a whole lot you can do to really mess that up unless you're intentionally trying to do so. And so when someone comes out and just says, yeah, no one should ever do this, it's like, or I hate this because this is broken. It's just like, nothing. What's broken? Nothing's broken. I did the math. I saw. Nothing is broken.
Yeah. Man, just like, even if it's like, I want to play this class. Like, this class can do that better. Yeah, but I don't want to be that class.
Maybe the class I picked has got some other features I like. Or maybe I just want to go for a certain aesthetic. It's about making your own fantasies, right?
That's what matters.
That's what matters. I get so driven up a wall about that kind of stuff, and especially because tabletop, literally you go to tabletop RPG games to make a narrative that you can't do in other forms of gaming. You want someone to get sweaty over D&D rules? I don't even know. Just keep that away from my table. That's all. Just, you're not there to play the same game I am. Plain and simple. Now, there's nothing wrong with being excited about rules or being super invested in them, getting, like you like dissecting the numbers. Cool, whatever. Just don't complain to me when one class does this point efficiency more in something over another. Or that a class is just this class but better. Because you know what? It's not, because they go for different identities and they do different things. It drives me up the wall. I always get super irritated by that kind of stuff.
Do not blame you.
But yeah, we've had a pretty good talk so far on everything. Definitely off subject, like 90% of the time.
What else is to be expected?
If you want to come and listen to us just talk about gaming in general, I guess this is the place to be, because right now I really don't got much. I mean, the things I've been going through in life personally have mostly just been me trying to get more enjoyment out of things like gaming and everything like that, you know? Like I said earlier, it's really easy to become super desensitized to games and to expect things out of games, or to be given a game that's genuinely good and to be like, meh, I don't like this because whatever, you know what I mean? There's so many games out there that people look at and they're like, oh, it's a Souls-like game, I'm not gonna play that. But like, a lot of them go through and have very like interesting storylines. They try to do stuff in their own unique ways, so people just blow it up because they feel like they've seen it all.
I do that for survival games.
Yeah.
Because I don't like survival games.
I love survival games.
I cannot stand them. Hunting for like resources to micromanage like a set of bars is the most tedious shit I've ever done. I cannot stand it.
I definitely think survival games need to have more survival in them, though, because a lot of the time what happens is you get to a point of self-sufficiency and then the game becomes boring or project-based. But the parts I enjoyed was getting to that self-sufficient point. Anything after just seems to kind of kill the game to me, so that's why I also like some other games that are just like, they have like horde survival modes where you have to, like 7 Days to Die, I think. No. DayZ I think has that.
Probably DayZ. I mean, DayZ is just like survival stuff, like with big zombie hordes.
Yeah, but like the hordes get stronger and stronger and stronger, and so you're constantly pushed to try to, you know, get to that point. I don't like also when survival games just become a grind to get something done. But, you know, whatever. I think that's kind of how it is with tabletop. I think a lot of people look at tabletop games like, oh, it's another this dice system, this whatever, and they just don't give them a shot, or they're just like, I got D&D or I got Pathfinder, you know, what other kind of game do I need? I definitely would like to make something or find something that really changes that. I want modern high fantasy. That's what I want. There's like no good games that do modern high fantasy, or at least not in a way that's both narratively and mechanically satisfying. Vampire the Masquerade is kind of close because they've been building the system for years now at this point, and the narrative of it is really good. I think though it's limited by the fact that, one, it's based on vampires, so has a lot of the same limiting factors as like Tolkien-esque fantasy. You're just playing with the same tropes over and over and over again.
Yeah, and also for myself, it makes vampires themselves, like, I'm just not as into that. I ain't a big vampire guy. So like, meh.
I like vampires, but I like vampires as a part of a bigger system.
I guess that's fair. The only vampires I've ever found that I've given a shit about are like Slavic vampires, where they are just like resurrected humans that are like really fucking terrifying. Essentially people that have been like transformed supernaturally into essentially like xenomorphs, like perfect apex predators. That shit's dope. I love it. Also, I love the Slavic rituals for like getting rid of vampires. I think they're really fun and like really interesting to read through.
Slavic cultures and mythologies are super fascinating.
It goes fucking hard. I mean, there's a good reason deep. Why when I was like developing my homebrew world for D&D when I was running that, one of my regions is very inspired by Slavic mythology and like Slavic like monsters, because in that world I essentially had 4 regions that were all influenced by different like large like monster like cultures. Western and Eastern European, then there was like American, like essentially North and South American, and like fucking like Viking, because Vikings are cool.
That's true. Vikings are cool. They also have good mythologies as well.
Yeah, it's very
most fantasy we know today descended from Scandinavian mythology. Elves, dwarves, everything Tolkien, pretty much. Pretty much all are Scandinavian, or at least Scandinavian rooted.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's and see, what I want is I want a modern fantasy. Like I've mentioned before, I want like a game that's kind of like Final Fantasy 15, where you have people driving their car, one guy's like on his Game Boy or whatever, and then you see like the city wall, and on the other side there's just fucking monsters out there or something. I find that dichotomy of like normalcy and the fantasy next to each other to be super fascinating.
That's fair.
And adding in, I legitimately think sci-fi and fantasy, like high fantasy, also blend really well together. And it's such a struggle to find good media that blends it well, because it exists, right? In D&D Pathfinder, you have techno-magic societies. You have it like a lot, like the Inventor or the Artificer, you know, you have those kind of things in it. World of Warcraft had like the Gnome Works or whatever. Even like Warhammer 40k legitimately has high fantasy elements with demons, and how the warp works in general is very high fantasy.
Fair. Like, because I'm not, I guess, as big on high fantasy stuff, which, to be fair, I might just have like a slightly wrong opinion of it or definition. Because whenever I think of high fantasy, I think of Final Fantasy like style, or like Final Fantasy like 15 style. Because I personally am not as big into modern world, but this is here. It's interesting, but it's not my thing. Either if it's like a secret world system or like a, literally here's our human cities and outside, you go outside, there's monsters and shit. I like me some hopeless like fantasy or sci-fi. That's why I like Warhammer so much. I like the Metro series, like that universe so much. I think it's really fucking cool. Especially when Metro was in this like fun little universe where it was like the only civilization you know about is in Moscow in the Metro system, and like that's it. And so for all you know, outside of it, there's literally nothing else. And I hate isekai. That's important. I cannot stand that genre at all.
I think it's well overused. That's for sure.
I just don't give a shit about, whoa, we're in a video game. Whoa, we're in a fantasy world. I don't care. It's so overdone, and I just cannot get into it, like, at all. Granted, it's also one of the most, like, it's so ripe with anime tropes, and I cannot stand, like, most anime tropes.
I think when narratively done bad, you're right. I think the concept is interesting, but it's definitely overplayed. But no, like, high fantasy, I mean, you just, when you think of monsters, you want monsters.
Shit that's like, you have no right to fight that.
Right.
That's what I want. Or become the monster to fight the monster. That's why I like Berserk so much for 40k. It's like, everyone's a piece of shit. That's kind of what you gotta do.
Yeah, and like I think that's a hard one, right? Because I would love a hardcore nitty gritty system that the odds are stacked against you and you gotta fight monsters and every fight is a struggle and you're not guaranteed survival. I would love that. I would love the narrative of that. I love powerful, strong monsters. I love Call of Cthulhu because it's a lot of that same, like, there's just some situations you're just not going to win. Or there's just some situations where no mortal person can withstand. And I find that narrative and that kind of storytelling really good. And I would love to participate in that. The problem comes in accessibility.
Yeah, that's not fun all the time. Like playing a game where it's just in the game design, like you are just not going to be like powerful. That's all. Like unless everyone wants to play it, but like that's not going to be fun for the average Joe. Because like at the end, like a lot of times you're just like, I want to be a cool warrior who fights real cool. You don't always want to be in the position of like odds against you. You're just going to die. It's not as fun to play, like as that. It's more fun to be the I throw like a fireball the size of a city block.
Yeah, and Power Fantasy is like that. But I don't know. It's the way you put it. I find it hard to have that Power Fantasy and get what you want out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot of the stuff I want in my favorite like kind of stuff just does not really work in tabletop. It doesn't work as great, and like as much as I would love a Warhammer thing, I know that if they did make a legit system for it, it's brutal as fuck. Because I know that because the Dark Heresy books, like the tabletop system, is really tough. It is very Call of Cthulhu. Like you can just easily get killed. That's not for everyone, and that's not as fun. Like, and if you're gonna do anything else, you are going against what makes that universe interesting. So it's that struggle. There's a very clear struggle in that position that is hard to deal with.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is what I like about the modern fantasy. The kind of like that outlook is. It comes in degrees. There's things that you can deal with, and there's things that you can't. Even in Final Fantasy 15, for example, the creatures you're seeing that are like off the road monsters or whatever, you can fight them for the most part, and it's not a big deal. But then there's parts where you go into the dark dungeons, and you start fighting really demonic things, or things are really hard. Some of the bosses in some of the dungeons.
And make the decision of like, I'm not a pussy. I'm not gonna go to sleep at night. You're like, oh, I should have gone to sleep.
And I think that's just kind of one of the things where I like that range. You know, I agree that a lot of games don't make monsters very monstrous. You know, like. It's really hard to get that almost scary feeling in games. But unfortunately, no matter what you do, if you fight a monster more than a few times, you're just not going to be afraid of it anymore. And it's hard to make a system that's genuinely like rough like that. Unless you're playing a hardcore system where you have a chance of dying in every single combat. Then seeing certain monsters, even if it's over and over again, can just be stressful. Because you're like, oh my god, this thing might kill me. And it's going to be really hard to avoid dying here.
Yeah. There's those systems like that. Like Call of Cthulhu or the Dark Heresy system. Where it's like, oh, well, I'm dead. Or there's no chance here. But I guess, like, maybe that's why I like war games so much. Like I've been finding out, because like honestly, the one way that you can really consist and keep your universe like interesting in that way is on board games. Because like you can have that game where it's like, oh yeah, here's all my favorite stuff in this universe, and here's all the stuff that makes them busted as fuck. And then your opponent's like, ah yes, here's my favorite stuff, and here's why my shit's busted. Like from what I hear, there's a really cool Star Wars tabletop system, and a lot of the characters are really fun and like interesting. Like Count Dooku is fucking cracked in like a one-on-one duel, but Darth Vader has a bunch of shit where all of his rules are about like how angry he is 24/7.
Right.
Like, that kind of fun stuff. And apparently, like everything in that game is like really well balanced and like powerful, except unless you're playing droids, and droids are broken right now. But you know, whatever.
I got an interesting question for you. What if you were playing a tabletop game that was much more modular, and in the sense of you get used to the idea that your characters might die? I don't know. I guess like a video game in a sense, you know, it's like when you try a level and you die and you just have to go back and try it again, only not as like repeatable, obviously. How would you feel in a game system? Okay, here's a good idea. What would you feel if there's a game system, right, tabletop, where your character dies, and even if they die, maybe they get respawned in like a vat somewhere or something, but you're like out of that, obviously, that combat or whatever, you know, or that whatever mission you were trying to might fail, you know? How would you feel about something like that?
I guess it depends. If the people playing the game is fun, it's honestly hard to say, because one of the things that's interesting about tabletop is that there's a threat there. But I will say there's a lot of characters where I'm in positions where I'm like, I just straight up don't want you to die, because like I have like 2 characters right now that I'm playing where it's like, if they die, I have genuinely no idea what I'm gonna do. Like I have no comeback. There's nothing I can like think of. So on one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I'd have to try it and see how it feels. I just objectively outward like this, I don't think I have a good answer, because I can see myself making a decision and then realizing I don't like how it feels in the moment. In the end, that's what matters. How it feels when you're playing it.
I don't know. Because that's, you know, it's like one of the inherent things. I think there's also a bit of imposter syndrome that comes with tabletop, because the game is designed, quote unquote, the game is designed to provide you with constant but more or less easy to defeat encounters, and that feeds your character into growing into a more powerful character that can deal with more dangerous yet easy to defeat encounters. And it's hard to like, how can you say your character is a badass, right, when you never actually did anything super badass?
Yeah.
Like, because that's just how it is in tabletop.
Yeah.
I do my best, and I've gotten really good at providing challenges that push my players to the brink of TPKing, but with just enough wiggle room to get out of it. But in the end, the game and the situation was designed to get them that far. You know, it wasn't a, well, you may die if you don't actually get sweaty and play the game for real. You know, those situations never happen.
Yeah, no, it's always like, I've been playing games with you long enough where anytime we're in that position, I'm like, we got this. Like, we just keep doing what we can. Not like, it's not hopeless.
Hey, thank you, Emerald Sky, for the follow. We appreciate you. And I think that gets us... Whoa! Hey! We got to 500 subs, and we got to 100 followers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice. So thank you, Emerald Sky. You're now the 100th follower on our Twitch. So that's awesome. Man. I still get blown away when people like follow or subscribe all the time. Just like, me? You want to watch me talk about whatever we talked about today?
Talked about fucking Pokemon porn for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that did happen.
I certainly hope that's someone's first impression of us.
Please, why do you curse me like this?
Because it's funny and it's what we deserve. You can't have your first impression of you being like, yes, Bad Luck Gamer, Cameron. I remember when he made this really interesting, thought-out argument on like this system in tabletop. It's way more funny if they're like, I remember that part where you talked about your game you made about Pokemon Rule 34. That's way more fun.
It's better. It's a better icebreaker, that's for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know.
Besides, on the internet, you are the sum of your stupid mistakes and statements.
That's true. That's very true.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's definitely a thing of like tabletop is easy, unfortunately. No matter how you try to approach it, like you've never had to sweat in a tabletop game. You know, there may have been times where you were sweating when something was getting pretty intense or whatever, but there was never a moment where you had to sit down, like, you know, do the whole meme of sitting up, paying attention mode to get through a combat in tabletop. And I feel like the lack of that kind of removes the player's legitimacy, but at the same time, you can't have constant terrible combats where they might die, because that's stressful, especially in characters that you're very invested in the narrative of.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what I'd do if fucking Sebastian died. I put so much effort into that boy. If he like just disappeared, I'd be like, well, guess that's Anima for a bit. I have nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the thing, is like, how do you have a character and like make them legitimate in tabletop? It's very hard.
I don't know. It's really hard. It's hard to put into words. I don't even know how I do it myself. It's like a thing. A lot of times the character just becomes like something a lot bigger, and I'm like, well, this is the ride I'm on now. Like,
yeah.
Like this is a conversation I've been having with like Quentin, because it's coming up for our home, like the game I'm playing with them for 5e. Like, once we're done with this big arc where we're dealing with like political shit, we have like 2 story arcs that are based on my character. First, he's gonna go get vampirism cured because he doesn't want to be a vampire anymore. And second, he's gonna go talk to his family. And he's a D&D character, so he has a bad relationship with them. Like, that's
right,
necessary.
Staple in fantasy, yeah.
Exactly. Though for him, it's just straight up like parents who don't approve of his line of work, like that whole thing. He's,
from what I know of the character, I wouldn't approve of him either.
No, not really. He's kind of just a hot mess, and he's a bard, so he's literally a hot mess. Kind of thing of like, I've been working with Quentin to like set what my what his family is like, and I've been working to figure out what his perspective is like on his family, and it's literally going to fucking play out family drama in tabletop. I can't say that about anything else or any other character. Like, yes, here's my character. It's really cool. Like, such and such. He has a big gun. He shoots real, like a whole lot. Like, dope. And then it's like this character. It's like, yeah, this is his like family, and he has a really like, he's cut off all contact between his mom and his dad. He still talks to his sister and stuff, you know, because his sister's nice, but his sister's a little too metally, and like will try to integrate like his parents into like situations where he'll have to interact with them and he doesn't like it, you know, like that kind of bullshit. And that's not what I intended this character to be when I joined his game. That's what he is.
And that's what makes tabletop cool, and I think that's kind of the thing. You just can't bring sweaty gameplay into tabletop.
Yeah.
They just don't belong together.
Fun.
Narratives mean a lot, and the thing is I think that's where you get sweaty, right? how do you make a good story for your character? How do you tell something that's legitimately interesting to listen to? How do you narrate good moments to have that heart-pounding stress, you know? For anyone who's been watching the channel, check out the second video in our Riptide series.
Ooh.
That session particularly had a very stressful encounter that had no enemies, and yet by the time that we were done with that session, everyone was tired.
What the fuck happened?
Well, okay. I'll put it like this.
Give me like cliff notes.
The cliff notes is the party. Imagine a sinkhole, but in the middle of the ocean, right? Not just like a forming whirlpool. No, the water just suddenly drops out underneath you.
Huh.
And they were stuck falling into this pit in the middle of the ocean that then became a whirlpool. And they had to survive and get out of it. And there were a lot of checks that got really close. Suzanne's character had like at one point got dropped down to 1 HP, and if she went unconscious, everyone would have drowned.
Huh.
And her character was also hooked up to a bunch of electrodes and was like bleeding out the eyes and ears.
Jesus.
One of the characters had to pilot the ship unexpectedly. And yeah, there was a lot of checks that were made pretty much like on the dot. And that's where you get sweaty in tabletop. That's the thing, where everyone feels that tension. Everyone feels how hit or like how do or die the situation is, and as the DM, if you can orchestrate that without high chances of TPKing your party, it's even better. And that's where I think tabletop is good, when you can tell a narrative that makes your players feel emotions, feel drained, and when they get out, they feel like they accomplished something strong. And that can be only done with strong narrative ability and intuitive understanding of the game system. And that's kind of, maybe that's what I want to make, right? I want to make people who are kind of all sweaty over narrative for gaming.
That'd be better than the alternative.
It's true. I just like we were talking about before. It's like tabletop PvP being an esport, you know, where two people are trying to, with rules attached, narrate how they win a fight. And blending narrative and gameplay elements to their peak. I think that's where the future of tabletop should be going, and that's the future I like to create.
Fair.
All right, but with that, we've overgone our time limit by quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you all so much for being here and just listening to me talking and Alex talking for like 2 hours and some change. I thought I was going to come at this with a lot stronger of like a foundation, and it just crumbled away. We were just talking about whatever. And I think that's kind of the point of what this I guess podcast is the best way to put it was about. It's not all D&D. It's not all Pathfinder. Sometimes you just gotta break from that and look at what else is going on around you. And you don't have to be so focused on, tabletop. I definitely need to learn to step back a little bit, because I don't know if you found my comment in that video, Alex, but
I did
that was a really sweaty comment. How'd you not find it?
I don't know. I just couldn't.
You can like
Also,
Control F for the name.
I don't know. I just didn't see it. I was also not like paying crazy close attention because I was trying to like also listen to a conversation.
I mean, that's fair. But yeah, it's just there's a lot, and sometimes you just take a step back to check out what else is going on, and take a I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but take a note from Alex's book. Sometimes it's just about finding something to do with the people you want to hang out with. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's the new game of the year or whatever. As long as you can get together and just have some fun, that's all that matters.
Honestly.
And thank you, Alex, for being here to have this conversation, but also being here last week to be like, I guess we're not doing it today. I felt bad about that.
Yeah, it's all good.
I mean, obviously, I needed the rest, but like,
yeah, it was important. But also, I have a film thing that like just came up that I'll need to take care of. So
that's fair. No
worries. I have to head out soon.
But if you guys enjoyed this, please like and or subscribe or follow, I guess, wherever you are. Do whatever. If you want to see more content like this, we try to have Table Talk every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And next week, we'll probably be back with something a little bit more on the topic of tabletop. I'm very excited. We might be doing, you know what? I'm going to push. We'll try to do a play test next week at some point. So if you want to participate in that play test, join us in the Discord. I'm going to put a call out sometime beginning of next week. And I think we're going to shoot for Wednesday at some point. And we're just going to do a live play test, couple hours, get together, and we're going to shoot some guns, and hopefully it works out. So with that, let's go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.